For years, Prince Harry has styled himself as a global conservationist, a royal rebel who traded palace walls for African savannas and elephant sanctuaries. But this week, a brutal reality check arrived from an unlikely source, the Republic of Chad. In a decisive and unapologetic move, the Chadian government terminated its partnership with African Parks, the very organization Harry proudly serves as president, and signaled that he himself may no longer be welcome on Chadian soil. The message could not be clearer: Harry's glossy titles and curated image no longer carry weight where it truly matters. African Parks, once hailed as a model for wildlife conservation on the continent, is now being accused by Chad of failing to deliver on its most basic promises. According to officials, the partnership was riddled with failures in wildlife protection, underinvestment, and disrespect toward the government. These are not light accusations. For a sovereign nation to sever ties with a high-profile NGO under royal patronage suggests a deep erosion of trust, and Harry, as the public face of the charity, cannot escape accountability. This is a humiliating development for a man who has tried to anchor his post-royal identity in global humanitarianism. As president of African Parks since 2017, Harry has repeatedly spoken of his commitment to African communities and wildlife. Yet when real scrutiny comes from African leadership, the response is silence and spin. This is not the mark of effective leadership, it's the posture of a figurehead more interested in prestige than performance. Chad's move exposes a long-ignored problem in the way certain Western-led NGOs operate in Africa. Too often, they arrive with lofty rhetoric, foreign donors, and well-produced documentaries, only to underdeliver on the ground. The gap between their polished global image and the actual impact on local communities can be vast. Harry has willingly attached his name to such an organization, basking in the glow of global conservation accolades, but now the mask is slipping. What's worse is the glaring contradiction between Harry's self-portrayal and his practical engagement. He frequently positions himself as a hands-on advocate, yet when things unravel in places like Chad, there's little evidence of meaningful diplomatic engagement, serious oversight, or crisis leadership from him. A true leader would be in the room negotiating, repairing, and ensuring commitments are met. Instead, Harry seems content to be the ceremonial face of a brand until that brand becomes a liability. Chad's accusations of disrespect toward the government cut particularly deep. It reflects a broader frustration many African nations harbor toward foreign organizations that operate as if sovereignty is secondary to their mission statements. By allowing such tensions to fester under his watch, Harry has not just damaged his personal reputation, he has undermined the very causes he claims to champion. The potential travel ban only compounds the embarrassment. To be effectively blacklisted from an African nation while serving as president of an African conservation charity is a glaring contradiction. It signals that Harry's presence is not seen as helpful, but as part of the problem. For someone who has repeatedly emphasized his special connection to the African continent, this is a stunning fall from grace. Let's be clear, this isn't just about bureaucratic disagreements or policy disputes. This is about credibility. Harry has built much of his post-royal narrative on being a champion of the voiceless, a defender of wildlife, and a global changemaker. But when an African government publicly calls out his organization for failing to deliver, that carefully constructed image begins to crack. It's not Buckingham Palace critics doing the damage this time, it's the very continent he claims to love. There is also a deeper irony here. For years, Harry and Meghan have positioned themselves as moral arbiters, unafraid to lecture institutions, including the British monarchy, on accountability, inclusivity, and justice. Yet when their own ventures face legitimate criticism, they retreat behind silence and PR maneuvering. Where is that same moral clarity now that Chad has raised the alarm? This incident also places African Parks itself under a harsh spotlight. The organization has benefited immensely from Harry's star power, using his royal status to attract funding and global attention. But that kind of spotlight cuts both ways. If the results on the ground are subpar, if governments feel disrespected, and if wildlife remains unprotected, then the celebrity attached to the cause only magnifies the failure. For Harry, this is a moment of reckoning. He can no longer rely on his royal background or celebrity sheen to shield him from real-world accountability. African governments are not starstruck. They expect competence, respect, and results, not symbolic figureheads jetting in for photo opportunities. The Chadian government's decision is bold and telling. It signals a shift in power dynamics, a refusal to be patronized or sidelined by foreign-run initiatives dressed in moral grandeur. And in that shift, Harry finds himself on the wrong side of the story. Ultimately, this is more than just a diplomatic embarrassment. It is a sharp reminder that genuine leadership requires more than polished speeches and honorary titles. It demands real engagement, respect for sovereignty, and tangible results. Harry has enjoyed years of uncritical praise for his conservation work. Chad has just issued a firm reminder that the era of unchecked royal branding in African affairs may be coming to an end.